Hello, hello. Okay. Let's see. So today we're doing 6.3 notes. And here are the ones that Ms. Dahlstrom worked on with you guys. And we're going to continue today. So let's start with, looks like my window, I'm going to do, delete. So let's start with just sine of x. Remember what that looks like. Look at our window. Our window is between 0 and 2 pi. Looks like our minimum and maximum is at -3 and 3. Beautiful. Looks just like how we expected, going up to 1, down to -1, and so on. Keeps going on further and further. So now, what would happen if instead we put in sine of 2x? Now, hopefully, if it's kind of hard to see with this other graph in the way, so maybe I'll turn that one off for now. By the way you turn things off is you just hit enter on that equal sign. That means it's not going to graph that one. See how only the sign of 2x is darkened? So if I look at this, it looks like instead of the distance for one period being 2 pi, which is still the whole screen, it looks like the period for one cycle is ending right about 3 point something, maybe 3.14 something, about pi. So it looks like we're getting 2 cycles in instead. Okay, so the original one, I'm going to write this down over here, what we're thinking. So the original one, y equals sine of x, had a period of 2 pi. And then if I put in sine of 2x, the period becomes just pi. Okay, let's try a different one. Let's try this time the sine of pi x. Looks like that one's going right through those decimal places. Looks like one period is just 2. And then another period at 4, another period at 6. So if I have the sine of pi x, my period is 2. Let's try one more. Let's try the sine of 2 pi x. Wow. It's really zigzagging that one in there. Let's see, it crosses at 1 and at 2 and 3 and 4. It looks like there's a cycle every 1. So this is a period of 1. So now's the point after making these observations. I would say, here's the equation, y equals a sine of bx. Now we know that the a means amplitude. But how does the b relate to the period? So there's kind of like an invisible 1 right here, right? So what does b being 1 have to do with 2 pi? If b is 2, the period's just pi. If the period's pi, the period is 2, or if the b is 2, the period's 2, and if the b is 2 pi, the period's 1. So how does this work? So I would give a pen for this question, if anybody could get it. And I would say, hopefully somebody figures out that if you take 2 pi divided by b, that will get you your period. If they can't come up with this, you can tell them on your own if you want to, but I would definitely use a pen for this one. This one's a tough one. So here's our final answers, and this could also be y equals a cosine of bx. So here's kind of our conclusions that we've come up with so far. Now the homework the whole homework is page 601, number 13, 14 through 20 evens. Again, we're only doing one period on that. And then also 26 and 29 through 33. And we're going to do number 26 and number 30 together, so you'll have an additional 4 problems to do on your own. All right, let's look at 26. 26 says y equals cosine of 1/3 x. Okay, so I'm going to draw my graph. It's kind of a hard thing to do, so you have to pay attention now. So, let's see. I'm going to write down that I know my amplitude is 1, because there's like a 1 or invisible 1 right in front of this. And I know my period is going to be 2 pi divided by b, and that's 2 pi divided by 1/3. Otherwise, I could write 2 pi over 1 divided by 1/3, which is the same thing as 2 pi over 1 times 3 over 1, which is 6 pi. So that means my period is going to be 6 pi. Okay, now this is a little hard to do, so we've got to think about this. A cosine graph normally starts at 1 and goes down to -1. And then you need to make 4 marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that it ends at 6 pi, one period does, and it starts at 0. So the halfway point has to be 3 pi. And what's halfway between 0 and 3? 1.5, which is the same thing as 3 pi over 2. What's halfway between 3 and 6? 4.5. Let's see, 4.5 is the same thing as 9 pi over 2. And then we just draw it. So it starts at cosine. Cosine starts at 1. So it kind of goes down like this. And then hits your minimum right there. And then back up and there. Make sure you put arrows, implying that it keeps going forever. So the hard part about this is probably thinking of what these tallies are and figuring out the period on the side. Okay, the other one I want to try is number 30. Try this on a different piece of paper maybe. All right, so number 30 says y equals 3 sine of 2x. Okay, so I'm going to draw my axes. Right now, nothing has moved up or down, nothing's moved left or right, so we know that it's always going to look like this so far. It's got a 3 in front of it, so I know I'm going to go up to 3 and down to -3. I know I need 4 tallies. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to write down that my amplitude this time is 3. The period is 2 pi divided by b, or 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. Okay, so my period is pi, my amplitude is 3. So, and it's a sine graph, so I know it's going to start at 0, and then it's going to peak up here at 3, and then back down to 0, and then down to -3, and then back here again. But I need to figure out what these tallies are. Let's see, I know that it goes to pi, because the period is pi, it goes out to pi, and we're only graphing one period. And then halfway would be 1/2 pi, which is pi divided by 2. And half of a half is 1/4. So this is 1/4, 2/4. This would have to be 3/4 pi. Whew, these graphs are not very good. Okay. Not my best picture, but you get it, I think. So again, here is that homework assignment. Remember, you could pause this video anytime, so if you need to go back and take a look at something, please do. And then make sure you have this in your notes right there.